And I know, obviously, everyone listening, with COVID obviously being such a prominent thing last year and a half, mental health now is coming a lot more into the picture. A lot more people are talking about the effects of lockdown and the actual pandemic itself. I mean, especially here in Britain, in the UK, the effects of the lockdowns that we have over here in the tier systems on mental health is detrimental to the country more than anything else that could be happening. And I think a lot, and obviously, I'm a digital marketing agency, so my clients are in the martial arts industry. So even seeing it myself, there's such an uptrend in it. Do you think that in time now more people are going to say, right, we need fitness is the answer to mental health problems, or at least a very good way of dealing with it, if not being the full answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a huge stigma around this mental health thing and everyone experiencing it now and starting to have this more awareness that, like, oh man, maybe I should have listened to my friend that was saying they were anxious because now they're experiencing anxiety. And now, oh, maybe I should have listened to my friend that said they were depressed. And, so yeah, I think that awareness is coming to a level where it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool to go to therapy, and it's going to be cool to say I'm anxious and I'm managing my mental health. Um, and I think over time that's going to be the major change, and I think it's great, even though it's the process of the pain that we had to go through as a planet, as a species, because it wasn't it's affecting you in the UK and United States and almost everywhere else. I think that we're going to go to another level when it comes to awareness and how we deal with our mental health issues.
I love that message, and I like that it's the message of mental health, but also from what would typically be described and seen as a very masculine alpha sport and sort of industry. I mean, we talked about this back in episode 14 with Ben Ross when we had the men's mental health special episode, and we both talked about mental health stories and different things, and talked about mainly the stigma around men and talking about mental health. And it's fantastic that I mean it's kind of weird because I think a lot of guys without realizing do sort of combat sports and things like that there for their anxiety and their stress without realizing it and being able to sort of accept themselves that's the reason behind it. And I like that a lot more people now are seeing that it is kind of just it's just kind of a part of life, and it's just kind of something you need to deal with when it comes up, and that these can be outlets and you can find sensible smart outlets for the anger, aggression, anxiety, stress.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, especially with men, but I think that with people in general, there's almost like what's the word? It's people don't necessarily have a place where they're allowed to be angry or aggressive. It's not necessarily socially acceptable. Like if you see somebody, really angry out and they're like screaming, like you almost want to turn and walk away because it's not something that's socially acceptable. What what my program does, what boxing does, what fitness does, what people like myself, because I'm not the only one out there with this message. They give you a safe space to express your emotions because it's a part of us. Anger is a part of us. Aggression is a part of us. If we weren't aggressive, then we would have never uh, became the top of the food chain the way that we are. You know what I mean? We wouldn't have developed technologies and developed all these different things that we did if it wasn't for aggression. And what we need is balance.
Mhm. That's it. And I mean, I know sometimes there's the argument among some people the combat sports for teens or younger men, boys, is a bad thing. It encourages aggression and violence and fighting. But then you have the whole flip side of people that have actually maybe done a martial arts class, maybe been to a boxing session and see the difference. And I think what the problem is, I think people don't realize it is it's a lot of controlled aggression. Like when you talk about aggression and letting out your anger, it's not just haymakering someone and just going wheeling in. It is controlled aggression. It's finding a funnel for releasing it correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it's an art, if you really think, like, if you think about it, the one of the most famous martial artists that most people know would be Bruce Lee. And it's like it did, and think about Bruce Lee's temperament. He was very, zen like, and you know I mean, he made it very clear that if you step to him, you will be destroyed. But at the same time, it was a controlled aggression. Like There's this thing called an rage room. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but it's basically like a place where you go in and you just break things.
Oh, you can like hurl plates and like smash
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, sick.
And psychologists found that this is not good because it's blind aggression and it's no good. But the same reason why anger rooms don't work is the same reason why combat sports do, because you become to a new level of awareness. You know what I mean? And it's an art. It's an art form. You don't just go, like you said, you don't just go in there and haymaker. You go in there very tactfully, and you learn how to. I mean, because the truth of the matter is anger doesn't serve you in the ring. You know, it doesn't serve you in those situations. It actually makes you more vulnerable. Then it doesn't give you more advantages. It takes it away. So you learn not to lead with aggression. You learn how to lead with finesse. With a what I call relaxed intensity. You know.
That's it. And this is obviously all stuff you train in your program, and it is obviously. Is there a big difference? I'm not going to say there is because I'd rather just ask. Is there a big difference between what you train in your training system and what typical boxers would train? Is there a difference, or is it a case of it's the same sort of actions but a different story and a different teaching coming with the action?
It's the most detailed,
Right. Yeah.
right? There's more details in
Mhm.
what I teach.
Okay.
And it's more organized. There's different pieces of it that make a greater picture. Now, essentially, if you're training for competition, these are all the lessons you need to learn in order to be ready for competition. And all the masters of the sport, they keep the secrets to themselves. So it's me basically saying, like, here, these are the things that I learned, and these are the things that served me, and these are the things that will serve you as well if you come into the sport with this intention. And that's why I call it intentional
Right.
boxing training.
So you teach it from your perspective of why you learned the box and what you got out of it, as opposed to how other people would teach their like or they would teach their mindset on it, as opposed to what you teach your mindset. That makes a lot more sense. Is in how people actually get a lot of benefit from what you teach and what you're putting out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. And like I said, I learned these things from one of the, masters. I just simplified it and I dissected it. There was one of the things, like, I would, like, here's an example. You need to stay relaxed is something that you would hear from a coach. Relax, you got this. You know what I mean? And me, I teach the art of relaxed intensity. You know what I mean? I break down how do you go from um, feeling like I'm really petrified of getting hit in the face to get into a place where you're so relaxed that the punches don't hurt you, but you're not too relaxed to where you can't react and defend yourself intelligently. And so those are the differences, that the communication of what it is that I want you to do is very clear and strategic.